Okay, so today we're going to be joined by Dr. Rick Sessinghaus. How are you, Rick?
I'm doing great,
Doctor?
Ralph. Thanks for having me on.
Okay. Yeah, well, such an honor to have you on, man. I'm glad you're
Oh,
willing to participate, man.
my pleasure.
Good thing. Yeah. So why don't we start by you could tell us a little bit about yourself. How did you get to where you are now? So I imagine you must have been a junior, somewhere along the line you picked up a golf
Yeah,
club,
yeah.
right?
You would have thought I was a good junior golfer, but I wasn't. I played a lot of sports growing up in a city, Burbank, just outside Los Angeles. Baseball, basketball, football, tennis. Then I got into golf when I was about 13. Got serious about golf when I was about 16, and just fell in love with it. Got hurt in football, and then went all in on golf. And was a very average high school golfer, shooting 78 and stuff. And then I started to get better and worked really, really hard and ended up walking on at Cal State Northridge, which is a Division I school here in Los Angeles area. I was I would say, a mediocre Division I golfer. But I had some glimpses of brilliance along with some mediocrity. So it was fun. It was great to be in competing against some really good players and such. Then after that, I got into coaching. Just absolutely loved golf so much that I wanted to make it my career. And I've been coaching for 30 years and started off with just kind of helping beginners and people learning how to hit the ball and get the ball in the hole. And just I loved their um, just when they hit a good shot, how happy it made them, and just being around that. I am just so fortunate to be able to say that I've coached for 30 years, and it started with swing, and then very long story short, started working with some very good junior golfers, and my own shortcomings had to do a lot with the mental side of the game and my frustrations and anger issues, and went back to school and got a doctorate in applied sports psychology. And really in the last, I would say, 15 years have kind of gone more into that direction than swing coaching. I still am a swing coach and I still work with some very good players, but I just liked the other side of it, of the performance, and what was the difference of why somebody could perform so well under pressure or choke. And I was just intrigued with that. And that's been kind of part of my philosophy moving forward here. And I've got a company called Flow Code, and I wrote a book. But I just like you, I'm obsessed with what helps us shoot lower scores, and there's so many puzzle pieces to it.
That's great. That's great. Now, I know you're one of the foremost mental coaches out there now, but by your peers, voted on by your peers, guys.
Well,
I
thank
know
you.
that you're, but I'd like to know what your major influences were along your swing path, or who before we go into the where I'd like
Before
to
we get into the mental side.
yeah
Yeah.
before I go mental.
So swing, it was interesting. So I grew up, played my junior golf when I was so I'm 54 years old. So in the 80s and early 90s is when I was competing. And at that time, the biggest influence was David Ledbetter, for sure. And, I see a book behind you a little bit, Nick Faldo, Golf, the Winning Formula. That was one of my favorite books for sure. I was a huge Faldo fan. I love the preciseness, the technical side that he brought to it. So I was very much influenced by Ledbetter and Rick Smith, and a little bit of Jimmy Ballard, a little bit of certainly Butch Harmon. So there were some great coaches back then that I looked at. And this, of course, is well before the internet. So you're looking in Golf Digest magazines and books and videos, and just I got obsessed with it. And then I was fortunate that I took a few days worth of lessons from Mac O'Grady and started to understand, I think, a little bit more about some frameworks. And it really helped me as a swing coach more than it did as a player, to have some models to work with and understanding cause and effect relationships with shaft positions or release positions and such. And so I was very fortunate on that. And that was probably first couple years when I became a swing coach. I got to do that. So that would be some big influences. And I think throughout the years, I think it's a little bit of here and a little bit of there, to be honest with you. And I've got to learn from some great coaches, go to some great coaching summits. Nowadays, learning about biomechanics and force plates and all the stuff that I am not an expert on, but I think I know enough to ask better questions. And then with my students, I would refer some of this specialty stuff out to some of these great coaches and such. So as much as it's gotten more complicated, which it has in a way, coaching, you hope that we can start to simplify it for the players a little more.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I think you're up in an area now where there's a lot of great coaches and a lot of great players up there, right? So I mean, you're flooded with studs and geniuses, right?
Well, yeah, in Los Angeles, SoCal, Southern California, we've got somebody made great junior. I work with a lot of very good junior golfers, and it's just so many competitive junior golfers, college golfers, and as you mentioned, we got some great coaches in our area too that I get to hang around with and pick their brains on. So it's great to be at this part of the country for sure.
Yeah, I fly out there to take lessons. I don't take lessons.
Awesome.
Just it's just because that's so. Now, so when you made that decision, or what you found, because what I'm seeing, and you went into the force plates and all that stuff, is that now there's so many facets, and so much groundbreaking research or technologies have evolved to where you know people are looking at the physical fitness, the biomechanics,
Yes.
the mental side, right? And I was talking to these other gentlemen that had put together an app called the practice, just proper practice.
Fantastic.
All these
Exactly.
things have to come together, and you chose the mental part. And I'm trying to, what made you go that route?
Yeah, I think what's interesting is I look at it very holistic. I look at performance as a human being type of thing, not a robot. And I think with force plates and 3D and certain things like that, um, some coaches are looking at people as just with numbers, and I think that's a disservice. The human is the one hitting the shot, and what is going through their mind, what emotional state are they in? That's going to affect their physical state. Their physical state, if we were in a stress state, fight or flight. If I'm tight because I'm stressed, I am not going to release the club the same way. My muscles are not going to fire the same way. If I'm in a flight, I'm probably going to get quicker and shorter and probably hook the ball. And so the state we're in affects our performance. And if we were just in this vacuum and we're in this, you know, and we get to track everything in a very closed environment, yeah, it's easy to say you should do this and your P3 position should be here and your force. I get that. I do. But golf is played in a, in a very random environment with a lot of variables, and the biggest variable is our thinking patterns and our emotions and how we react to our environment. And I don't think that's being coached enough. And that's where my passion is to see these players who have a lot of potential, but they're not getting the most out of it. And they have a lot of interferences, a lot of noise, distractions, doubts, fears. And I could have the greatest force plate numbers in the world, but that doesn't mean I'm going to actually execute a golf shot.
I wholeheartedly agree with that. In terms that sometimes I walk out. I'm speaking for myself, and the less I have going on in here, the easier it becomes. And the minute I start thinking about something or some position, it's over. It's over.
Yeah, it's tough because golf is one of the few sports that's non-reactionary. So the ball just stares at you and waits for you to hit it, and it's kind of the good news, bad news. The good news is you got plenty of time to think, and the bad news is you got plenty of time to think. And it's what are you thinking about and how much you're thinking, and all that is going to affect it. But if we can quiet it down, and I'm not one to say that you should be playing in a blank state, but the quieter is obviously better. Or where is our attention going to? Is it going to a target externally, or are we in our head thinking of all the angles that we need our club to be? Or crap, don't go to the right, don't hit it in the water, right? There's a lot of things that stimulus response that we're reacting to. And I just feel very passionate about helping that side of it. Because, and again, I'm not, yes, my bias is going to come out that I think the mental game is super, super important. But I really do look at it from a performance standpoint, that there's all these puzzle pieces. Um, I work with some players that have won major championships, and I understand they have to swing well. They have to have good technique. They have to totally get all that. They have to have good fitness, no injuries, right? So mental is a puzzle piece of all of this. And I actually get intrigued looking at the big picture too, because I know enough about fitness. I know enough about these things. but I'm not an expert in that. But I'm an expert in swing and I'm an expert in mental, and I'm trying to blend them together as well, as much as I can. And that to me is the intriguing part, as you know, Ralph. To this game sucks us in, and we're always looking for the answer, aren't we?
I agree. You know, when you so you decided you wanted to pursue the mental part of it. You went back, got a PhD. Now you finish your PhD and you come out, and what are you like this? You know, how were you viewed? Or was it? I mean, you must have been, in the early stages of this stuff, because now everybody. I mean, back then we had Rotella writing
Sure.
these books and audio stuff, and that was cool. But you yourself are a coach. You are a golf coach, and now
Correct.
you're adding this aspect to the other stuff. And I'm just curious how this
Yeah,
proceeds or what.
yeah, it's interesting. I think because I'm always come to somebody as a coach first, not as a sports psychologist type of thing. I think actually, I would say I come to it as a player first. You know, Playing golf, and we all have that kinship of playing, and we can talk.
Right.
And I'd rather talk in those terms than about stress response and about arousal levels and all this kind of stuff. But I feel like what I've done is I can communicate it in a way that a player understands and that they can go, oh, well, that makes sense. And how do I actually improve it? So when I was a player, I did seek out mental game help. And back then, and this is no knock on anybody, this is 30 years ago, a lot of the mental game coaching out there was, be positive and take a deep breath. And I was a hothead, so it's like I hit a ball into the trees, and the coach would say, "Just forget about it." I go, "Forget about it? I just hit it in the trees. I'm going to make another double bogey and miss another cut. How am I supposed to forget about it?" So I didn't think it was as how should I say actual practical tips. It was just more be positive, this, that, and other thing, and that didn't make sense. So that was the other thing where I kind of went down the road as to solve my own problems. By the way, mentally.
Right.
And then coming out 20 years ago when I finished my doctorate to look at what works in research state, what kind of breath work works, visualization, relaxation, all this type of stuff. And it got me going, oh, there's actually tangible things we can do. And that excited me. I've had mentors, Dr. Patrick Cohn, who's fantastic. He's in Orlando, Pia and Lynn with Vision 54. There's so many people that have influenced my mental game also. I was always coming to it from a player, though, first. What would I want to be able to do in this moment? And
Sure.
then I really started getting down into some deep stuff research wise with something called flow state. There's a gentleman by the name of Mihai Csikszentmihalyi. Unfortunately, he passed away a couple years ago. He's the godfather of flow. And flow is peak performance, optimal experience. You play your best, you feel your best. And it was all research based, which was exciting for the first time. We now knew the brain waves that went with the state. We knew the neurochemicals. We knew, and I'm going, oh, it's something we can actually measure now. And that got me very excited and have gone down the rabbit hole of flow states in the last 10 years pretty deep. And that's again, the exciting part is even some swing coaches come to me and they don't believe in the mental game because they don't think it is tangible. And I get it. I do. It's like, oh yeah, you guys, it's just about, positive thinking or whatever, visualize. I said, no, it's actually a state. We actually know the brainwave activity. We know what's actually happening physiologically when somebody's in a flow state compared to a fear state. And my job is to help them go from a fear state to a flow state. So that's what's excited me the last few years is, I use technology. I use something called Focus Calm that measures brainwave activity. I'm using heart math. I'm using heart rate variability. I am using metrics to help people understand, and I want to empower them. Like they actually can do something about their state.
Right.
And so that's kind of where my passion lies and where it's going to continue.
So when you're measuring, when you're trying to quantify these,
Yes.
I guess I don't know, their emotions. I'm not sure, but this state of mind, I guess, right? Would that be a
Yeah, I
message?
think we have frameworks like a mindset, for instance, is kind of a framework of beliefs. Like my mindset, I'm a competitor, or I do horrible in the wind, or something like that. We have belief systems and stuff like that. Mindsets are very important. because it's how you filter your world. Some people they don't like to compete. They're nervous. Other people go, man, I love the challenge, right? That would be a mindset. I'm also looking at kind of the physiological and psychological connections. So when you mentioned maybe you play your best golf and you have less thinking happening,
Right.
great. We actually literally have less brainwave activity happening.
Right.
Fantastic. But if I'm very stressed, I'm going to be in a high beta, and it's not always about negative thinking. I want to make that clear to everybody. It's just a lot of thinking happening. It's hard to be reactionary and tap into the skills you've already developed and those type of things. Most people say, oh, it's negative. I said, no, I could have swing thoughts that are neutral. But if I have 5 swing thoughts of what I want P3 position to do and where I want my weight to be on my downward strike, I am not connected to a target anymore. And I'm kind of short circuiting myself to be an athlete. Okay. So yes, there's the quantifying on that. There's other things. We now have wearables where we can, talk about recovery and sleep and all those other cool things. But and I think it's going to progress quite rapidly here in the next few years with the technology.
I think so too. I think you guys are onto something. But now, so you have this behavior or this reaction or these emotions in real time. You're a coach too. You have 2 major championships behind you. I see.
Right.
Uh, so in the moment, you're referring to in the moment, right? So as you approach your shot, the pre-shot or whatever, and then you go up there, and at that point is where that epoch in time is what you're gauging, or is it
Yes.
throughout the 18 holes, or what? Is there like a spike, or you
Well,
want to
that's the
flatline
that's the yeah, yeah, yeah. That's the exciting part is we can start to the wearables will get good enough here where we could track 18 holes. Now you wouldn't be allowed to use brainwave stuff in a tournament round, but we could start to look at the fluctuations of brainwaves. We can start looking at fluctuations of heart rate variability and of other stress responses. And that's exciting to be able to kind of look for pattern recognition of saying, huh, it's interesting. This person was good, 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 good. And then they came to this hole. What happened there? And I'm just making this up. Oh, there was water on the right and they always slice the ball. So the environment now triggered a fear response. Now, in them, they might go fight or flight. They might tighten up or they might get quick. And then wherever the ball goes, it goes. But in that moment, we did see a physiological change because of how they were perceiving the situation. That's the big word, perceiving. You and I, Ralph, could play the same exact golf shot and be looking at it completely different.
Yeah, I
And then
agree.
our body would respond differently. So that's why that mindset's important is how do you view it? But then once it's triggered something and yes, we have to have self-awareness. Maybe my heart is pumping, but is my heart pumping because I'm fearful of don't screw up? Or is it excited about anticipation?
Right,
How you now interpret that is important, right?
right,
And so then you get into awareness of, okay, I am nervous. What do I do with this? We can utilize certainly certain types of breath ratios. It's not just take a deep breath, by the way. We may have to take a longer exhale to
right,
calm the sympathetic system down to get us more relaxed. We may have to do what we call expanded awareness with our eyes to take in more visual field so we're not focusing so tight where it's stressed. And so there's things we can now do with sensory, so visual, auditory, breath work that could change your state. Yes, routines. Now, if we get into the 30 seconds before you hit a ball, you would think you have a lot of control over that, which is why we have a pre-shot routine. A
right.
lot of people show me a physical pre-shot routine. Oh yeah, Rick, I take a practice swing. I take my club out, get behind it, hit a ball. I go, okay, what's going on upstairs? And they go, what
Right.
do you mean? I go, well, how'd you make the decision in the first place? Did you actually look at what their lie is? Did you see where the wind's coming from? Is this a firm green? It's well, I kind of did. I shot the number. It's 142 yards. But I said, yeah, but the ball's below your feet and you got a left to right wind. What's this ball going to tend to do? So I look at what is the thought processes happening before you even pick a club. Once you pick the club, certainly I want somebody to be confident in the decision. So I get into some deep stuff about how they're perceiving the shot. What are the cues that they're focusing on in order to make a proper decision? Are they actually confident they can execute the decision? Okay.
Right.
And there's a certain freedom about letting it go, right? That's more
Right.
pre-shot routine.
Right. So now the freedom of letting it go, uh, the reaction to the outcome, right? The outcome. So I'm going to take a player, not your player, but I'm going to take a player. Let's take Tommy Fleetwood,
There you
right?
go.
Last 3 months, hasn't won a PGA Tour event, right? He's gotten down
Totally.
the stretch, back nine, he's leading, right? And it didn't work. Didn't work. Things didn't go his way, right? Um, how do you handle that, or what's the like I don't know. Is that part of your
Sure. Oh, yeah, yeah,
your
yeah. I mean, and whether it's Tommy Fleetwood, or I work with so many other college players, junior players, and they're trying to get over that hump, right? They're super talented. You see it on their resume. Hey, they should win, right? And we know it's hard to win on any at any level.
right,
I look at, was there a drop off in performance first, right? Sometimes we just get flat out beat by somebody. I could
right,
shoot 66 and still get beat by somebody who shoots 65. That's not choking. That's not anything like that, right? But if we find a change in performance, let's say I was 15 under par for the first 3 days, and then I shot 4 over on my final nine. Well, that would be a dramatic shift of performance, right? To me, that becomes more mental. So then we're looking at, where does somebody's mind go when they're in the lead or close to the lead? And now we start looking at comfort zone, some of its belief system, but what are they interpreting it as? Right? I think the best players in the world, whether it's Tiger or Scotty, they love the competition so much that becomes the adrenaline rush to keep them going, and they're focusing, and I can't, this is awesome, right? Other people, it might be, oh my God, this could be life changing. Oh my God, if I do this, and there's so much in the future, and they're still thinking positive stuff, by the way, but they're in the future so much of what it could bring to them. And if this happens, and the outcome becomes so important. And then we certainly have other people's like, oh, don't mess this up. I don't know when I'm going to get an opportunity like this before. Don't screw it up, right? Now we certainly get into a fear mode, which is going to be counterproductive. So I'm trying to understand how somebody's perceiving being in the hunt and being in contention, and then what are they experiencing? Are they experiencing? I had a good junior golfer the other day, played in his first USGA event, and he goes, Rick, I did not play well because my mental game. Now, I'm his coach, so I took that serious. Like why? USGA was so exciting, and my heart was pumping, and he couldn't slow himself down. So even though it was a positive, like I can't wait to play, he couldn't regulate his system because he was too excited and his heart was pumping too much. So I think a lot of people say, "Oh, somebody choked" or something like that. That's a strong word, and certainly I believe that can happen. Is we get in such a stress response that the system does not fire the same way. Um, I know that was a very long answer to your question, but I think I need to understand the framework they're looking at being in contention. When they are, what are they experiencing mentally, emotionally, and physically, and do they have the strategies to monitor or neutralize it? I'm not saying they're going to get into a flow state, but can they neutralize it to where it doesn't interfere with their performance as much?
but you're like in uncharted waters. You follow me?
Totally.
So, in other words, so I Fleetwood comes down the lead and he's firing at pins and playing golf, just playing golf, offense, right?
Totally. Totally.
As the stretch gets closer, he winds up in defense, and I'm wondering, is there, I mean, you probably just explained it, but it's
No, I mean you hit it right on the head. It's like, are we playing to win, or are we playing not to lose? And I think you said it perfectly. And again, I don't know Tommy other than saying hi to him a couple times, but players like that, I would remind them of how great they are. He's won on the DP tour. He's been unbelievable at the Ryder Cup. He has a resume, to, of
Yeah, he's,
course,
he's a great
win on
player.
the PGA Tour, right? So
Yeah.
it's then we're thinking the PGA Tour is so different than other things. To me, if you can play clutch in a Ryder Cup, that to me is the highest level of pressure ever. So I would remind players that they already have it within them. Yes, it might be a different uncharted territory, but I call it bridging over a success from one thing over. It's like, wait, you did this. Remember that? Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. That was uncomfortable, right? Yeah. Did you do it anyways? Yeah, right. And I remind them of times they were uncomfortable and when they succeeded, so they can start to tap more into kind of that internal side.
So it's sort of like feel the fear and do it anyway, right?
In a way, but you are redefining the fear state of going, okay, I've been in a similar state like this before, yet I still overcame it because I stayed on the offense. I focused on having a clear target line. I talked to my caddy clearly with what we want to do instead of what we don't want to do. So it's just understanding people's personalities under pressure that I think is intriguing to me also.
Oh, wow. Great. That's great. So, what do we expect from you in the future? Like, you have the flow code? Is that the flow
Correct.
code?
Yeah, my company Flow Code. I co-founded that about 6 years ago. We do many different things. We certify coaches who want to know more about the mental game. We have 180 certified coaches worldwide. We have partners where Flow Code's the official mental game partner of academies across the world. David Ledbetter's academy. All this cool
Cool.
stuff to partner with these great coaches. We have an app. We do have a partnership with FocusCalm, which is the EEG device that measures brainwave activity. And so, yeah, very excited about that. I'm excited about technology. I'm at this moment when we're recording here in August of 2025, I'm opening up an indoor flow code studio, which will be opening here in the next week or so. And I'll have simulators that will have all the all the brain stuff and training mental game in a closed environment. So it's easier to help people understand the metrics and still teach a little golf swing here and there and travel a lot with the players that I work on different tours.
You're definitely cutting edge. I mean,
Well, but it's
because
like,
you don't have
but
a
like,
limit. There's no limit when it comes to that. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like,
no, I would agree. And I think you're seeing it as we started talking about biomechanics and stuff. That's still a very young field.
yeah,
And people say, well, it's like, yeah, but we're still learning more and more about what do these measurements mean and how accurate are they and all that. So that's still early. The mental game is still very early. And that's what I'm excited about being part of that trend too. Because I think what golf coaching is going to happen, and you're seeing it already, is specialties anyways.
yeah,
I feel like I'm a very well-rounded coach, yet I don't give many putting lessons anymore, right? We
right.
know John Ortega, great putting coach. We know these great putting coaches that, man, they are so good at that. And then we have now people who just do speed training. It's like, wow, that's a
Good.
specialty. So I
Yeah.
think we're seeing more specialties in the industry, which is good. Um, I wanted to be a well-rounded coach and have the specialty with the mental game, and that's the
Mhm.
one I'm going to continue to dive in deep.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a licensed professional. I just had this conversation yesterday, brother. Yeah, I'm a licensed professional. I just, and, you know, the sign of somebody is that I don't practice beyond, even though I'm authorized to do certain, I just don't do it if it's beyond my area of expertise because I'd rather just send them to somebody who's good at it or, I'm not, just, and that's kind of, it's pretty, you know, that's pretty thumbs up on your part because if you're looking to help, that's what you do,
That's what
right?
it is, right?
Yeah,
We got a lot of golfers who want to shoot lower scores, and we got to come
right.
together as a community to help them.
Absolutely, absolutely. Rick, well, unless you have anything else to add, I really appreciate you coming on. I'm glad I met you, man. I really enjoyed the
Yeah,
conversation.
no, Ralph, pleasure's all mine, and I know you've interviewed a lot of great coaches, and it's great to get the information out there and help those players look at different ways to shoot some lower scores.
Yeah, and when I go back to California, I'm on the other coast right now. I'm in New York, and maybe I'll check in. We'll say hello. Okay.
That would be great, Ralph. You bet. Anytime.
Thank you, Rick. It's been a pleasure.
You're welcome.